In a world ravaged by creatures and conflict, survival is the only rule. When a photographer searching for meaning crosses paths with a woman desperate to escape her fate, their journey through the ruins of civilization will test their will, their beliefs, and their hearts. The movie begins with soldiers driving down the street in a good mood, singing together. Suddenly, their car crashes, and they quickly gather themselves before opening fire on the creature that attacked them, a giant spider-like monster. Civilians panic and start running, causing chaos. After an intense exchange of gunfire, a missile is launched and hits the creature. The next day, after things have calmed down, a man named Andrew arrives at the scene, asking the locals where the injured have been taken. Since the people there don't speak English, he struggles to communicate, but eventually one of them tells him that the injured were taken to the hospital. He rushes there and approaches a nurse, asking for someone named Samantha. The nurse leads him to a room where a woman with a broken arm, wrapped in a splint, is sitting. He asks if she is Sam, and she confirms. He then tells her that he works for her father and was sent to check on her. After confirming she is fine, he leaves the room. Outside, he makes a phone call and starts arguing with the person on the other end, who insists he take Sam back immediately. Andrew, however, wants to stay, as he has been waiting for this kind of moment for 3 years. The person gives him an ultimatum, forcing Andrew to take Sam back. They get into a van, and as they drive, Andrew takes pictures while Sam sits next to him. She asks the driver if it is safe to live there, but the driver explains that his family is there and they don't have much choice. He tells her that this kind of thing happens every year. They finally reach the train station and get off. Sam calls her father, who repeatedly tells her to call her fiancé. He also speaks with Andrew, warning him that he wants his daughter to return home safely. After the phone call, they run to catch the train and get inside. As they travel, Sam asks Andrew about his job. He explains that he is a photographer and then asks about her work. He helps her remove the splint, making it easier for her to move her arm. As she falls asleep, Andrew begins taking pictures through the train window. When Sam wakes up, Andrew tells her that they need to get off the train. Sam repeatedly asks if it's safe since it's dark and in the middle of nowhere, but Andrew insists they must get off. They step off the train and walk toward a nearby house, knocking on the door. The owners let them in, and once inside, a woman informs them that they must reach the coast within 48 hours, or they will be stuck there for 6 months. Later that night, they stay with the owners, eating and playing with the children. The next day, Andrew and Sam head out to look for a car to take them to the coast. As they ask around, Andrew takes pictures of the local children. Before they leave, the owners give them food, water, and blankets for their journey. Eventually, Sam and Andrew manage to secure a ride and reach the coast. However, getting a ferry ticket proves difficult. When they ask a man selling tickets, he demands $5,000 for each ticket. Andrew refuses to pay and tries to negotiate with him, but the man tells them that if they have money, they can buy a ferry ticket. If they don't, their only option is to go through the infected zone and take the risk. After some negotiation, they manage to buy tickets for the next day. After buying the tickets, they stand talking about their next plan. Sam told him she wants to shower, and Andrew agreed to get a hotel room since he is stuck there for the night. He then told Sam she must get him 5 shots of tequila for what he is doing for her, and they decide to stay in a hotel for the night. In their room, Sam changed her clothes and Andrew turned the TV on. Sam then lies on the bed and they start chatting. Andrew asked if they should get a cocktail, but Sam is hesitant because it is getting dark. After a while, Sam gets up to take a bath, while Andrew calls his family to wish his son a happy birthday. Since no one answers, he leaves his son a voice message. After Sam finishes her shower, she gets out with a towel wrapped around her. She asked who he was talking to, and he told her that it was reception, and they called to tell him that his room was ready. He lays on the bed after saying that, and Sam asked him to leave so that she can get dressed. After this, they go out into the city to have fun. The streets are lively, filled with people shouting, dancing, and celebrating. Sam and Andrew are excited, trying street food and drinks. But suddenly, the atmosphere shifts, people begin remembering those who died in the attack, and the mood turns somber. To lift their spirits, they head to a beer shop and start drinking. As they talked, Andrew asked her what her plan is after she got home tomorrow. She told him she will go to her fiancé and get married. Andrew joked and turned serious. He asked when exactly she is getting married, and she told him that they haven't set a date yet. Andrew told her they should celebrate, and they started drinking. Eventually, they returned to their hotel room, where Andrew tried to spend the night at Sam's hotel, saying that the air conditioning in his room is broken. Sam joked on his attempts but didn't let him in. She then finally told him she needed to sleep, and they said goodnight to each other. After Sam closed her door, Andrew decided to go and get a tequila. Sam settled into her room and took her bandage off. Meanwhile, Andrew was back to where he and Sam was and started drinking again. Sam called her fiancé, but the call went straight to voicemail. The next morning, Sam comes to Andrew's room and starts knocking on the door to say goodbye before she leaves. Andrew opens the door and complimented her look. She told him she was here to ask him if they can grab a coffee. Andrew told her to wait for him till he gets dressed and opened the door wide open. At this time, Sam sees a woman in his bed. She then gets upset and told him she needs to leave or she will be late. Andrew tried to stop her, but she runs away. Andrew follows her, calling her name, but she insists that she has to go home. He asked why she still didn't get in the bore, and she reminded him that her passport was with him and asked to give it back. Andrew rushes back to his room to get the passport, but he realizes that the woman he slept with has robbed him. Desperate, he returns to the man selling ferry tickets and begs him to sell at least one ticket for Sam. However, the seller tells him that everything is closed, the army has left, and their last chance was yesterday. There are no more tickets available. Determined, Sam decides to go through the infected zone, but Andrew refuses. She tells him that if this was her only chance, she will take it. The seller explains that traveling through the zone will be very expensive. They will need to pay a driver, rent a car, bribe officials, and have at least $10,000 to pass. Andrew, frustrated, shouts that they were robbed and have no money. He offers his camera and watch as payment, but the seller refuses, saying it's not enough to cover the cost. As they argue, Sam takes off her ring and gives it to the man. After a moment of hesitation, the man agrees. Andrew told him if he is going to take the ring, they will need 2 tickets because he will go with Sam, and the man agrees to give them 2 tickets. Sam and Andrew got into the car and passed through the infected zone checkpoint. The driver took them inside an office and tried to explain to the officer that they had lost their passports and were there to study the creatures. Andrew, struggling with his limited Spanish, attempted to explain that they were aid workers who had been robbed and lost their passports. As they were trying to explain, a police officer entered and told the officer that he recognized them and that they should be allowed to pass. With that, they were given a document that would help them clear the checkpoint, and they continued their journey. After passing the checkpoint, the driver took them to a boat and spoke with the boatman about taking them to their destination. However, the boatman said that the money they were offering wasn't enough. After a long negotiation, he finally agreed to take them, but he warned that he wouldn't cross the border. Sam and Andrew got into the boat and continued their journey. After traveling for a while, they stopped so the boatman could refuel. At this point, Sam needed to use the bathroom, so she stepped off the boat. When she returned, they suddenly heard a strange noise. They looked around but saw nothing. The sound seemed to be coming from the trees, but they couldn't see anything. Feeling uneasy, Andrew nervously told Sam that they should leave. They quickly got back into the boat and continued their journey. As they traveled, Sam asked Andrew about his family. He told her that he had a son who was turning 6 the next day. She then asked about the child's mother, and Andrew explained that they had separated after only 2 months of being together. 2 years later, she called him and told him that he had a son. Their conversation then shifted to pets, and Andrew asked if she had any. Sam told him that she didn't because her fiancé was allergic. As they talked, the boat suddenly stopped. It had broken down. Andrew tries to help the others fix the boat, but as the night goes on, they still haven't managed to repair it. While they are working, they suddenly hear a strange noise. The boatman grabs a light and tries to see what is causing the eerie sound. Andrew, curious, starts taking pictures. Sam warns him to stop, but Andrew insists that nothing will happen and continues taking pictures. Suddenly, instead of a creature, a sunken plane resurfaces from the water. As they watch in shock, a massive creature emerges from behind and drags the plane back underwater. At the same moment, the boat is finally fixed, and they quickly continue their journey. After a long ride, they finally reach land. However, the people waiting there seem suspicious. The boatman tells them that he won't be going any further, and that his friends will take them instead. Andrew, feeling uneasy, tells the boatman that the people on shore have guns and that he doesn't think they should go with them. But the boatman reassures him, saying that they are his friends and that there is no other option. With no choice, Sam and Andrew step off the boat and follow the group into the forest. Eventually, they stop and sit around a fire for the night. As they sit, Andrew asks how far the border wall is. One of the men tells him that it's not far and that they are close to America. Andrew then asks if the wall will stop the creatures from getting into America. The man responds that it should, especially since America has spent a lot of money on it. When Andrew asks why they aren't moving now, the man explains that they are waiting for another family to join them. Sam asks if they feel safe staying in the area, and they tell her that they don't have any other choice. They also explain that the Americans are trying to destroy the creatures, but in reality, it only makes things worse because the creatures only attack when provoked. They then tell them that the trees in the area are infected. Curious, they all go to look. Upon closer inspection, they realize that the creatures lay their eggs in the trees, then return to the river to reproduce before coming back. As they observe the infected trees, Andrew grows uneasy and suggests that they return to the fire, not wanting to stay too close to the creature's eggs. The group agrees and they head back. As they sat by the fire, Andrew told Sam that she should remove the bandage to let her hand breathe. He helped her take it off, and she thanked him. He then apologized for how he acted the previous night, admitting that he was drunk. After a brief pause, he gently rubbed her hand and kissed it. After a while, they lay down to get some rest, but shortly after, a radio signal came through, waking some of the people. Suddenly, they rushed Sam into a car while Andrew kept asking for his camera, but no one answered him. They were pushed into the car and it started moving. Suddenly, the car stopped. Andrew, confused, asked what was going on, but the people told him to stay quiet. Then, they heard a deep, growling sound. At that moment, the others in the car started putting on gas masks. Andrew, even more confused, asked if they could get a gas mask too, but no one responded. He turned to Sam and insisted that they at least give her one, but again, no one answered. Before they could react, a massive creature appeared and grabbed one of the cars, throwing it violently in front of them. The men in the car with Andrew and Sam decided to step out and open fire on the creature. Sam and Andrew stayed behind in the car. Andrew told Sam to hide and get down so she wouldn't be seen or hit by gunfire. They waited in fear, unsure of what would happen next. Suddenly, the gunshots stopped, everyone was dead, and only the creature remained standing. The creature hovered around their car as they sat in complete silence. After a tense moment, it walked away without attacking them. The next day, as the sun rose, Andrew stepped out of the car and started walking around. Sam woke up and called out to him, but he told her to stay inside. He continued exploring the area and soon spotted the car that had been taken by the creature, now stuck high in a tree. Realizing the situation was even worse than he had imagined, he called out for any survivors, but there was no response. As he walked further, he came across a body lying on the ground. The sight overwhelmed him, and he vomited. Sam heard him getting sick and called for him again, but he kept moving. When he got closer to the body, he noticed something familiar. It was his camera. Andrew decided to retrieve the camera and carefully remove the strap from the body's neck. He also took a gas mask from the body, knowing it might be useful. Sam kept calling for him to return to the car, but Andrew continued searching the area, collecting anything that could help them survive. As he scavenged, he came across the body of a young girl lying on the ground. Saddened by the sight, he removed a jacket from another body and gently covered her with it. At that moment, Sam came up behind Andrew and saw the number of dead bodies around them. Overwhelmed, she started crying. Meanwhile, Andrew continued collecting anything they could use. Once they were done, they began walking through the forest, with Andrew leading the way and Sam following closely behind. They walked for a long time until Sam suddenly stopped. Andrew turned around and told her that they needed to keep moving. They had a long way to go and it wasn't safe to be walking at night. He insisted that they should travel during the daytime. Sam then told him that she needed to pee. Andrew, concerned about wasting time, reluctantly agreed, but told her to be quick. She asked him to turn around for privacy, so he did. As she was peeing, she noticed a large stone formation in front of her. Intrigued, she called Andrew over to see it. He walked over and they both examined the formation in awe. They decided to climb it, and once they reached the top, they saw the massive wall that America had built standing in front of them. Amazed, Andrew looked at it and told Sam that it was the biggest man-made structure he had ever seen. As he stared at the wall, he reflected on how different it felt to see his country from the outside rather than being inside. Deep in thought, he wondered what would happen to them once they crossed the border. He told Sam that once they got inside, they would likely forget about each other and go back to their separate lives. Still troubled by the memories of the dead people they had seen, Sam asked Andrew if they could talk about something happier, something that would make them laugh. Sensing her need for a lighter mood, Andrew started making jokes, and soon both of them were laughing together. As they sat there, it started to get late and darkness slowly covered the sky. Andrew told Sam to sleep since they would continue their journey in the morning and he would keep watch. Sam slept well, and when she woke up the next day at sunrise, they continued walking. Eventually, they reached the evacuation center, but as they looked around, they realized it was completely abandoned. Sam called out for anyone, but there was no response. They cautiously walked inside and saw that the city was in ruins. Andrew speculated that an airstrike had caused the destruction, while Sam wondered where all the people had gone. As they walked through the streets, they saw that the ground was covered in debris. Overhead, aircrafts were flying. Watching closely, they realized that the aircrafts were spraying poison to kill the creatures. Fearing the effects, they quickly put on their gas masks to avoid being exposed. As they continued walking, they came across a massive dead creature that had collapsed onto a house, completely crushing it. Andrew, eager to capture the moment, stepped inside the wreckage to take better pictures. Sam hesitated, but Andrew reassured her that he was only taking photos and told her not to follow him. Despite his warning, Sam stayed close behind. As Andrew continued taking pictures, they suddenly heard a strange noise. They quickly stepped outside to investigate. Not far from them, they saw a woman pushing a stroller. Sam called out to her, and the woman slowly turned to face them, but just stood there, staring blankly. Sam asked if she had seen anyone else, but instead of answering, the woman made a strange murmuring sound and kept walking, speaking to herself in whispers. Confused and unsettled, Sam and Andrew watched as she disappeared into the distance, still pushing the stroller. Shaken by the eerie encounter, they continued walking until they spotted a light coming from a gas station. Hoping to find someone, they went inside. Andrew quickly picked up a phone and called 911. He explained their situation, telling them that they had arrived at the evacuation site, but found no one there. He added that they had been stranded for 48 hours without seeing another living person and asked about the current situation. The operator told Andrew to stay where they were, and a team would be sent to pick them up. So, they waited inside the gas station's supermarket. As they waited, they started talking. Andrew asked Sam what she planned to do tomorrow. She admitted that she didn't know and asked him the same question, but he didn't have an answer either. After a while, Andrew told her that he was going to step outside to make a phone call and would give her some privacy to make one as well. He went outside and called his son's mother, asking to speak to his son. When his son got on the phone, Andrew wished him a happy birthday and reassured him that he would see him soon. Meanwhile, inside the supermarket, Sam called her fiancé. She told him that she was okay and that the police were on their way to pick them up. Her fiancé offered to come get her, but she assured him that everything would be fine and that he should wait for her instead. As she talked on the phone, she noticed Andrew sitting on the ground outside, looking sad. After both of them finished their calls, they sat in silence, Sam inside the supermarket and Andrew outside. Unbeknownst to them, a creature was slowly approaching the supermarket. Suddenly, Sam turned around and saw the tentacle of the creature slithering into the store. Shocked, she quickly hid under a counter. At the same time, Andrew spotted the creature outside and quickly moved away from where he was sitting. Sam, watching in fear, saw the creature's tentacles slide toward a television inside the store. It wrapped around the screen and began absorbing power from it. Seeing this, Sam decided to act. She reached out and quickly unplugged the TV. The moment she did, the tentacle retracted and pulled out of the store. But outside, another creature appeared. Andrew watched the creatures, stunned by what he was witnessing. Soon, Sam joined him outside the supermarket, and they both stood there, silently observing the strange interaction between the two creatures. After a while, the creatures simply walked away without harming them. Still in shock, Sam and Andrew watched as the monsters disappeared into the distance, going their separate ways. Andrew turned to Sam and asked what they were going to do next. Instead of answering, Sam suddenly broke down in tears. She looked at him and through her tears admitted that she didn't want to go home. Andrew watched her, processing her words. Then, without hesitation, she walked toward him and kissed him. Andrew pulled her closer, and they stood there kissing under the night sky. Just then, flashing lights appeared and the police arrived. Officers quickly approached, telling them that they were in a restricted area. Before they could react, they were pulled apart and ushered into a police vehicle. And with that, the movie ends. We hope you enjoyed our recap. Like the video and subscribe to our channel for more amazing recaps. See you in the next one.